So besides the Disney sock, what does letting go to mean to you guys?
Well, I guess it depends on what aspect you're referring to.
Yeah.
Is it letting go of, somebody who hurt you, or
Let's talk about that.
letting go of somebody that hurt you?
Yeah.
That can be tough because there are emotional, there are feelings involved, and depending on who it is. Or it could just be like an acquaintance. To me, that's easier to let go. But if it's somebody who's close to you, are you letting go of the person? That's a decision you may have to make. Or are you going to let go of the action that they did to hurt you? And if it's somebody that's really important to you, that's going to be a bit trickier if you have to let go of actions that caused you pain.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. You've got a lot of there's a lot of sentimentality in those friendships, right? And you think, do I want to let go of this? There's been so many good memories, even though there's those bad ones. But the way I kind of approach this, and unfortunately in the past I've had to let go of friendships. I don't think of it as, are they a good person? Are they a bad person? Because that's subjective. It's situational sometimes. Like sometimes they're a piece of shit. Other times they seem to have your back. But the way I look at it is, do I like the person I am when I'm with them? And if the answer is no, or if I find myself having to make too many concessions or modify my personality almost.
To be around them, or to be,
Do I have to censor what I say? Do I have to not broach subjects? Do I like who I am when I'm with them? And if it's no, then...
So you're looking at that person being more judgmental, I guess, in that example. How about an example
I wouldn't say I didn't interpret what you're saying as being judgmental. I think that you're doing...
the other person being judgmental.
Oh, the other person's being judgmental.
Maybe they're judgmental. Maybe they're just emotionally immature. It's just the vibes you get from them, the kind of chemistry that you might have.
Have you guys had to let go of friends? Like when you were mentioning that, I was looking and reflecting upon myself, and I was thinking about, people that I had to let go in terms of friends that, were great at a certain age in high school, college.
Them.
And then you kind of have to, move on, let go, so that way you can kind of move on to bigger and better things, right? Now, how about relationships? How about when you're in a relationship with someone, a significant other? Have you guys had situations where you had to let go, or you've been let go?
Both. Yeah, it's fun. But it's the same kind of approach. Like, who you are when you are with them says a lot about the relationship that you have. And again, if you have to be delicate in certain situations, or if you're too different from the person you want to be when you're with them. So
say the person is not good for you. Maybe, you guys met in college or a certain age, and it was the right time, and, drinking was fun, and, doing different things was fun. But now you want to, go on and move on, but they haven't changed. And, do you feel it's good to kind of let them go, or look for other options and then let them go?
If it's a relationship, no, you shouldn't look for other options. You need to let them go first.
Have you seen that happen though? Have you seen people stick with people and then, kind of look for something better, and then, when they do, they kind of part ways?
Are we still talking relationships right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do that with jobs, but not relationships.
Well, let's talk about jobs.
Upgrading.
Let's talk about jobs.
Yeah.
Well, first, I think with relationships, people do that when they're younger. I have never personally done that, where if I'm unhappy and need to let somebody go because they weren't good for me. And despite other people telling me they weren't good for me, I had to realize that myself. Despite knowing that they were doing, I wasn't my best self when I was with that person, and the insecurities and making me doubt myself and all those things, that person wasn't good for me, but I had to come to that realization on my own, in order to let that person go.
Yeah.
So
it sucks, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen people in work? I've seen a few people in work that, they join the company, and it's almost like it's part of their family. They might have outgrown that job, but they stick around.
Yeah.
And they aren't learning anything new.
They're probably not making any more money that they could if they left.
Yeah, like sometimes they can, or sometimes they just get lazy and they don't, better themselves. They don't learn anything new, and they just kind of, and it's almost mutual, like in the sense that the company doesn't want to upgrade from that person, and then the person doesn't want to upgrade from the company. So there's just like, maybe the first couple of years it's exciting, and then, but they stick in that job for like another 15, 20 years, right? Have you seen that happen, or have you guys done that where you stuck on a job for too long?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah?
I've seen it happen. I've never done it.
Yeah, when I was younger. And it's funny because if you're in a really terrible job, sirens are going off in your head. You're like, I got to get out of here. This is terrible for me. If you're in a good job, you're good. But I think the problem jobs are those in between, where it's just like an acceptable, tolerable level of misery that you can kind of like, you got your coworkers there that you like complain to, and like, this boss is terrible, huh? And you almost just like, you get used to dealing with it. Mm-hmm. And because it's tolerable, it doesn't push you to leave. It's kind of like, have you heard that like frog in boiling water scenario? So if you throw a frog in boiling hot water, it'll jump out because it's like, oh man, I'm going to die. But if you put it in like room temperature and slowly raise it, it'll kind of just like
turn to frog soup.
Yeah, stay there until it's dead, because it doesn't realize how worse things are getting because it's always kind of been tolerable. So
I've seen people where, the situation gets worse and they kind of bear it, but often, they get the pay raises, right? So it's like, you know what? They're paying me more than I probably get in the market, but I'm so miserable here. So what do you do in that case? Like you're probably paid, 10, 20% more than what you probably... You tough it out? What would you tough it out?
I mean, I guess you have to decide what's important to you. When I was younger, show me the money. But now as I'm older and my priorities are changing in life, then so are my needs when it comes to a job. So for me, it's family first, and whatever makes the most sense for my family, whether it's the flexibility or it could be money in that moment, depending on what's going on. That's what's going to factor my decision as to whether I'm going to stay in a job I'm not happy in, or whether I'm going to move on and look for other opportunities.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've been at a job where it was miserable and I got a pay raise. I'm like, oh, this is great. And that lasted like a month, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A very short term high. So I went back to like, oh, now I get a little more money, and I'm
so you're still going to be
life doesn't
miserable.
change. How many times have we got pay raises thinking like, you know what, if I make that 20 grand more, life's going to be so much better.
Yeah.
Then you get it, and then you see how much actually your paycheck, how much difference it is, and then you realize that my life is the same. I'm still broke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what good is a disposable income if you're miserable and you're not motivated to go out there and do anything?
Letting go. Let's talk about one last thing before we move on to the next subject. So, letting go in a business. So this is something that I've had to discuss a few times with people I've worked with in businesses, and also when the things were reversed. Because often if you're an entrepreneur, right, so say, Patrick, you have this business that you're in, and you give it a year, you give it two, and it's not going to come right away, so you give it 3 or 4 or 5, and you don't see the results, right? So people tell you, hey, you should move on, time to move on, but it's the entrepreneur in you that's basically having you hold on, thinking, no, there's something there, right? And you've seen both sides where those things led to something very fruitful, that they stuck around, they stuck onto it, they held onto it for an extra couple of years, and then boom, it blew up. And then some things, sometimes they held onto it for 2 more years and they bankrupt, right? Personally too, right? So have you guys seen situations where people held on a little bit longer?
Yeah, you know what? It kind of reminds me of something. Have you heard of the sunk cost fallacy?
Yes.
No,
It's
I've not.
Oh, okay, great. So it's this idea that people who put a lot of effort into something, like an entrepreneur, the more and more effort they put into something, the less likely they are to abandon it if it's failing. So say a company you're putting a lot of effort into, a lot of money into, it's just not working. It's this idea that, well, I've put so much money and effort into this, I can't abandon it, even though kind of common sense says you should.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you've ever been there where you've
Well,
had to say like,
what I've seen when I think about that is some people who are so invested and passionate about multi-level marketing, they need to let that go.
oh yeah, yep.
Because they're so good, and being online, like you get so many people who are reaching out to you. Oh, I have this great business and you should come to this meeting and you should sign up and it's a great product. Well, sell me the product. Stop trying to recruit me. And you'll have people who've been doing it for years. And I'm just like, that you need to let go.
They don't know how to quit.
Yeah.